Well, good morning. This is me, Ma. Today I'm going to call this one Discovering Things Along the Way. You know, I'm on a journey with the Lord, and these are the things that I discovered on my way, on my journey with Him. And the 80s were a very eventful decade for me. So many things happened. First, there was that trip to Germany I just told you about. And then my beloved father died on January the 4th of 1981, 8 days before his 90th birthday. He had been a wonderful father to me. He loved to tell stories, and people liked to listen to him. And he'd tell an amusing story, and he'd start laughing before he ever got to the punchline. But for the most of my daddy's life, he enjoyed good health up until the time that he died. He was sent to Savannah by his primary care doctor on December the 19th, just before Christmas. And he was to have a prostate operation on Monday. And sometime during the night, he woke up and needed to go to the bathroom, and he didn't realize that he was hooked up to all these tubes. And so he got up and got out of bed before anybody could stop him. And he couldn't stand the sight of blood, and I don't know if that's what gave him a heart attack or not, but he had a heart attack, and then he died on January the 4th. But I was with him the whole time that he was in the hospital. I only went home to get clothes or whatever, but for the most part I spent day and night up there, sleeping on the couch, and God is so good, y'all. I mean, He is such a wonderful Father to us. He sent so many people by. A lot of preachers came to see me, but there was a lot of preachers that came to the hospital and saw me there, and so we got to talk and visit, and we shared the Lord, and what could have been a very miserable time, because we kind of knew this was going to be it for Daddy. But He sent so many people to cheer me up and to give me comfort during that time. And He said He's going to comfort those that mourn, and so He did that for me. And I never will forget the night at the funeral home. While Daddy was laying in state, you know, the visitors came. Well, just about everybody that come in wanted to tell me something funny that Daddy had told them or done. And so I know I was probably hyper because of everything that was going on, but I laughed uncontrollably at some of the stuff. I mean, I was almost, but I laughed a lot. And one thing in particular, Daddy's nephew, who was also my first cousin, he said, did I ever tell you about the time I carried Uncle Jim to the wrestling matches in Savannah? Because Daddy loved wrestling, and you couldn't tell him it was fake. He believed it. Anyway, he said he carried him down to the wrestling matches, but they went to Williams Seafood, and Williams Seafood was on the way to Savannah Beach. And they served the tartar sauce in these little footed dessert dishes. And so I don't know if Daddy had ever seen tartar sauce. I don't know. But anyway, while they put in their order for their food, and Daddy pulled the dessert dish out, and he ate all of the tartar sauce. And so Talman says, Uncle Jim, do you know what you're eating? And Daddy says, it ain't ice cream. So anyway, everybody was there. I mean, they just laughed, and it was one of those kind of things after another one. And on the way home, I'm talking about the devil had a heyday. How could you go and laugh like that and carry on at your daddy's funeral? People think you don't even love him. And I felt so bad because I love my daddy, and I was sorry that I was going to miss him, but I knew it was in a better place. But I said, Lord, I just ask you to forgive me. And He said, what better way to celebrate your dad's life than to tell some of the things that made him so unique and so special? And I thought, yeah, that's right. If he was here, he would have enjoyed every minute of it. So I got set free from having to worry about all that. Now, my daddy was not he was not a rich man by any stretch of the imagination, but he gave all of us kids $2,000 when he died, and the rest of it he left to his widow, and because he'd remarried after Mom died. But anyway, Fred and I had never got to take a long vacation because we owned our own business, and when you own your own business, honey, when you're gone, you just don't have any money coming in. So Fred had always wanted to take me out west to where he was stationed in the Mojave Desert. You know, he said, I want you to see that, something to see. So anyway, with that money, we decided that we would take a trip out west. So I worked and I got everything that everybody told me to see, and I made me out an itinerary, and I was going to be here, going to drive 5 hours a day, and then we was going to be here at this motel and rest, and I was going to call these people. Well, forget the itinerary. I mean, we had hardly got started. The next day, Fred, instead of driving 10 hours, he drove over 10 hours, and we were all the way into San Antonio, Texas. Well, one of the boys that was raised with him at Bethesda lived in San Antonio. And they were always wanting us to come see them, because a lot of times when they came, I put them up for the night. And when y'all come, you know, you just got to come by and see us now. So I said, if we ever get that way, we're going to come by to see you. So that night at 10:30, we got into San Antonio, and nothing would do but for Fred to call him and tell him we were there. And I said, Fred, don't do that. I'm give out. And I said, it'll take them a long time to get here. I said, I asked them to get us a motel with just clean sheets and air conditioning. That's all I required. So anyway, he called them, and sure enough, in just 5 or 10 minutes, they were there. And nothing would do except that we come and stay at her parents' house, because they were out of town. And so, and they really needed somebody to house sit. Well, I didn't really want to do that, but, oh, Fred, yeah, we'll go. So we followed them over there, and as we drove and drove, I knew that we were not in the gated community section of town, but soon we drove up to this house and parked, and I noticed that it was, the siding was asbestos siding, and I thought, well, no big deal. I mean, we had a house that had asbestos siding at one time, but we had gotten beyond that. But anyway, we walked in the house, and thank God I was so tired that you couldn't read my face. I walked in there, y'all, and I have never seen such a cluttered mess in all my life. I mean, everywhere I looked, there was stuff stacked on top of stuff, and everything was sitting around, and I could hardly walk. And so they knew we were tired and it was getting late, so they pretty much just show us where the bedrooms were and what to do and how to manage, and they left us. And so when they left, we looked at our surroundings, and Fred said, we started laughing. Fred says, what have I got ourselves into? And it looked like a mess, y'all. And so he said, what are we going to do? I said, we're spending the night here. I said, we may have to sleep in the car, but we are spending the night, because they have given us the best that they have to offer. And I said, we're spending the night. So when I made up my mind, we went in to assess our bedrooms, and I had an air conditioner in my bedroom. The face on it was off, but I had an air conditioner. We went in there and looked where they told Fred he could have another bed to sleep. His air conditioner was sitting on a chair. But then I went and I turned back the sheets. Y'all, they were ironed. I have never slept in a bed that had pressed and ironed sheets on the bed. I thought, oh my gosh. That's what I told them I wanted, to get a motel near them that had clean sheets and an air conditioner. That's all I required. So I had my clean sheets and an air conditioner. So I got ready and I went to bed. And when I sank down in the bed, it was a feather bed. Oh my gosh, I thought I died and went to heaven. That thing slept so good. So anyway, we got up the next morning. And our host was there, and they showed us San Antonio like we would have never got to see on a tour bus. And he showed us all the things that he thought we would like to see. Well, I wanted to go on Riverwalk. I wanted to go where the river ran through the town, you know. So we went to the Alamo, and we went to a lot of different places, but he kept putting me off about going down to Riverwalk. But I found out later, he timed it just so that we would be there as the sun was setting. So then we got in the boat and we went down the river, and we just drifted along and saw all the sights and listened to the mariachi band play and came back to the restaurant. We was there to be able to eat by, you know, with the sun setting and the dim lights on the table. It was so nice and so romantic. And but I forgot to tell you, the next morning, when I actually got up and I began to look around, I thought, well, the poor woman doesn't have any closets. That's the reason she had the clothesline strung from one side of the room to the other with all her husband's starched and ironed shirts on it. She didn't have a closet. And then I got to looking, all the condiments were on the table because she didn't have cabinets like we have today. And I went in the bathroom, and honey, it was so clean, she'd almost scrubbed all the enamel off of that sink. So we were in a clean house, even though it was cluttered. I got to say that. And so, but I also found out that our host and his wife, their house had burned, and her mother was storing their furniture. That's why they had so much furniture packed one on top of the other. So anyway, we had a marvelous time, and we were so blessed. And they said, "You're welcome to stay another night." So hey, we got to stay another night. All of our expenses were paid. He showed us around. You know, they even had breakfast there for us to fix in the kitchen. You know, and I cleaned it up. So what a blessing that was. And so we got to witness to our host's son, and Fred had started singing, and his friend, Fred was kind of like his idol because this boy had gone to Bethesda when he was only 5 years old. He was one of the youngest boys that they had ever accepted at Bethesda to live at the time, so he didn't have anybody. And Fred was kind of like his big brother, so he started singing after that. And from our visit there and our visit with his son and giving our testimony to the son got saved. And our friend started singing for the Lord like Fred did. And our expenses were paid. And and the Lord spoke to me. He said, "Look what a blessing that they have been to you. What if you had thought you were too good to stay in their cluttered house without looking a little bit further? Look what they would have missed, and look what you would have missed." And I thought, yes, and how many times have I refused to have somebody come to my house because it didn't look just like I wanted it to look. So that was just the beginning. I think I told you that we prayed for a spiritual vacation, and I didn't know what spiritual meant, and I don't even know why I prayed that. But when I prayed that God would give us a spiritual vacation, I had no idea what it was going to be like. If we'd stuck to my itinerary, we would have missed out on a lot. So I told you, all things work together for my good because I love the Lord. So join me next week and I'll share another spiritual event that happened while we were on our trip. Thanks. So listen, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks.